All right, tell me you're joking. Back. Another episode time. We are going to be dipping into the what once used to be purple moderate waters of Missouri into into the red pool we are now, and see if we can get it back to purple a little bit. You've read your dashboard. You see that we have another candidate joining me today. Talk about his race, his district, the why. Maybe even get to a point where he might second guess his decision to run. That's always a possibility. You never know, you know. So JB here, tell me you're joking. First off, thank you for listening to the show. Really appreciate all the support. Been active over there on the Substacker as well. It's not actually Substacker, it's Substack. You know that. But go check the account out. Tell me you're joking. Same name as this. I've been moving in and out of some specific policy issues here in the area. I got some more pop culture things coming down the pipe too. In fact, if you missed it, one of the previous episodes here, Brian McCormick, BMAC, for those of you here in the Lou area, Mr. Buyer of all things rock and roll for years, spent a lot of time with Red Bull on activations and entertainment. Just an incredibly keen eye and taste for what's cool, to be frank. He sat down and talked to me about his new joint, Mr. Myers Lounge and Vinyl Music. I might have just flip-flopped that. Sorry, BMAC. It's going to be opening in Clayton here shortly. Long story short, if you've ever traveled the world or any kind of major metropolitan city and you stumbled into a lounge that somebody was spinning records, and you're like, I'm nowhere near cool enough to be in this place, we're about to get one of those places here. So check it out. Super cool conversation. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring the guest on here for the afternoon, for the day, for the morning, whenever you might be listening. Joining me from Jeffco, which is that sibling county to St. Louis Co. And given the fact that I grew up in Granite City, and there's so many monikers for Planet Granite, the East Side, all that other stuff, is where we're interpreted to be a little bit weird over there. Trust me, Jeffco has a certain connotation as well, and this, I'm sure my guest here today, Mr. Abney, is going to concur with some of my analysis. But welcome to the show, man.
I appreciate it, JB. Thanks.
So was I close when you say Jeffco or a friend says Jeffco, and I don't care what the context is, it's got a little bit of a lore to it. How would you describe Jeffco in 2026?
Well, there's definitely some connotations that pop into mind. But a lot of that stems from back in the day. It's different than it was when I was a kid. I grew up there. It's a lot more progressive now. There's a lot of diversity there. That wasn't there when I was growing up. It's developed so much over the last 20 years. Jeffco's reputation is for hardworking families that they're just trying to get by and survive and raise their kids. And that's still there, but it's also now it's black, white, different religions. It's a lot more progressive in a lot of good areas, a lot of diversity. That wasn't there always.
That's an interesting intro / segue, because as I just mentioned, I grew up in Granite City.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Granite.
Most people are in weird ways. I'll ask after we're done here. Me growing up there, the things I remember was just utter tight community. I knew without knowing we were blue collar, before somebody explained to me what blue collar was.
Yeah.
There was obviously the steel mill, there was the aluminum plant, there was Monsanto, all this stuff that it was all just workers. I knew that kids had dads, for the most part, that might be on midnights or afternoons, and I figured out what that was. And then what came along with it was kind of this not company town vibe, but we were middle. I think everybody assumed we were middle class.
Yeah, and there's a unity with that.
Yeah. Now, in hindsight, I realized some were maybe wanting to be middle class, but given public school was free. It was, well funded. We had really good academics, our extracurriculars, sports, and, theater, all this other stuff. That was the draw in town, right? Fast forward to today, it's not that those things don't exist. It's just different. A lot more bitterness, a lot more, obviously, everything's been made political. Yeah. And what once was a union, what I jokingly reference as a Dixiecrat community, is not.
Yeah, and that's from a generation of people being lied to. You grew up thinking you had this American dream. You work hard, you do everything you're supposed to do, you'll be fine. That's not the case.
So Jeffco growing up, for the sake of our listeners and myself, how old are you?
I'm 40. Well, I'll be 45 this year.
45. You're not far behind me. I'm 50. So we had the same radio stations at times.
Absolutely.
Give me an idea of for me personally, I just talked about a little bit of self-reflection and going back in time and what my town meant to me, just from a cultural, political, community standpoint and how I view that it is shifting. Take a snapshot of Jeffco in, when you were 16, 17, 18 years old in the community. When you look back, how would you describe it through the lens of today's kind of constant political analysis?
I mean, when I was a teenager growing up, I knew about politics. I didn't care. Like I was not informed as much as everybody is now. The internet was around, but it was baby. You know how that. Remember how that was. You didn't have access to information
Dial-up.
still. Exactly. I spent more time burning CDs than listening to the news. But I grew up in Fenton, which is right on the border of St. Louis County and Jeffco. But my whole family was all throughout Jeffco, so that's where I was at. We just listened to music. Like I went to Ozfest and Point Fest. My entire goal was just to have fun back then.
Did you feel like you were a St. Louisan, or did you feel like you were a Jeffco kid? Like, what did that look like?
Oh, I was a Jeffco kid. There's no doubt about it. And nothing made it more pronounced until you went to St. Louis County and someone asked, "Oh, where are you from?" "Oh, Jeffco." And then that immediate look, that pause. You're like, "Oh, that's not a good look."
Yeah, when you skip right over what high school did you go to what county are you from? Yeah, you're the outsider.
100%. And I went to Northwest, and as soon as you said that in the county, everybody knew.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Northwest was not the ideal place that in the 90s. I don't know what it's been like in the last 25 years, but it was rough. A lot of just education wasn't the goal, essentially. We were just getting through high school.
Well, what was the color mix?
Oh, I got to be 98% Caucasian. I don't think there's many diverse.
So then income, middle, low to low?
Yes, I'm the son of a single parent. My dad was not around growing up, and my mom was a nurse. She worked any shift she could to get 3 kids through, growing up. So we were lower middle class at best. And I think most people were like that. We got lucky with a good house. It was real estate. It was $60,000 for a 3-bedroom house back then. Can't get that now. She worked her ass off to get us through, and if we wanted something, we got it. So we didn't feel like we were low middle class, except when we were getting that.
Isn't that, I talk about that a lot about my own parents. Like, I think that's a telltale of, you want to know what real character looks like? Yeah. Talk to Gen Xers in particular, or older millennials that grew up at a time in which we now realize, in looking back, that our parents, they were not middle class. They were struggling middle class. There was a big difference.
Oh, yeah. And they never let you know.
And you never knew it.
Yeah.
You never knew things are bad. Or if you didn't, and there's plenty of people that knew it was bad, there was probably a particular event or an illness or something where that's the trigger.
Absolutely.
Or a singular job loss, right?
Yeah.
So again, I want to stay on this reflective portion of our conversation. So when today, as a 45-year-old man with kids, and you're in an elevated profession, call it what it is, you're an attorney. When you think about your childhood, when you think about your mom, your siblings, your peers, your school, and the area that you grew up with, and you kind of looked at the timeline, the through line, what changed?
Man, it's interesting. Are you talking about personally, like what?
I just mean like the role of a family. Like if your family, if your mom existed as a doppelganger today
Gotcha.
with 3 kids, all roughly the same age, living in the same house, same school district,
Yeah.
what would the differences be?
So credit to my mother. I love her to death, but she's a hustler. She will do what she needs to do to get by. So whatever that looks like for her today, she would make sure her kids are taken care of. But I probably would have different siblings around because she'd have to marry just to get by. A single parent right now, if you are not making a certain amount of money, you can't afford rent. You can't afford a house. We would live in an apartment right now. We couldn't afford that. She wouldn't even be able to have time to build credit to get a house. No down payment. Car wouldn't be probably getting oil changes. It would be at Aldi's every day, which is nothing wrong with that. I like Aldi's, but
I love me some Aldi's, man.
teaching my son budgeting was with Aldi's.
Yeah.
But
It's amazing what a quarter will do to
Right.
the organizational structure of a store.
is crazy. Yeah, no. But it would be less. She would not be able to hide the situation as well, and we would have a lot more complications.
So so you're running for state senate, District 22.
Correct.
So for the sake of our listeners, give me an idea. District 22, what does that look like? What's roughly the boundaries?
So I don't know if you know Jeffco at all, but it's from Cedar Hill to Ditmer, that farthest quadrant west, all the way across 30, all the way so House Springs, High Ridge, Fenton, Arnold, all the way down. So Imperial, Barnhart, down to Peevely, Festus, Herculaneum, Crystal City.
You mean Herky?
Herky. Yeah, I was there on Monday at the labor union. Shout out to labor. But then it cuts off up to Hillsborough, half of Hillsborough, half of Festus. They did redistricting a few years ago and cut out little nooks to keep it a little more.
You mean
red.
people of color? Is that?
I mean, that's the absolute reaction. Like the result of that. Anybody who's possibly going to vote against them, it's carved out. I don't know if you know gerrymandering, the terms, the cracking, packing, and
Absolutely.
then that's what they did.
I don't have a life outside of my actual life because I literally read this all day, every day. I'm a poli-sci econ grad.
Oh, I have a couple of degrees. One of my theses was gerrymandering in Webster pre-law program.
Sure. Well, I live in Webster.
Yeah.
And, when I think of districts, I can understand the attempt by either party, but let's talk about Missouri since we're here in Missouri.
Please.
I can totally understand strategically the intent of the Republican Party in particular to hyper-focus upon St. Louis City, St. Louis County, Columbia, Kansas City, Missouri, et cetera, and find ways to literally pick your 100 blocks so that you can start to carve things out. And I know why they're doing it. We all know why they're doing
No
it.
secret.
They know why they're doing it. What I don't understand is when you legitimately get into regions in which you have much less diversity in macro, demographics, right?
Yeah.
Jeffco there are differences in the haves and have-nots in Jeffco.
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
But when it comes down to it, compared to St. Louis County, that ideological difference is much less. Like the delta is much closer.
Agreed. Yeah.
So when they do start to carve out cities like a Hillsborough, et cetera, does it just seem like it's just the fire is burning. They are literally going to...
They're hedging their bets at that point.
Yeah, and they're throwing more gas on top. So as a candidate, when you look at these areas, do you even bring it up? Because gerrymandering is a national
There's no
topic.
point in Missouri to bring it up at that level. If I get elected, believe me, I'm going to push back as much as possible. These are one of these things that's been going on for decades, and people didn't know about it because it wasn't so extreme. And the Supreme Court had a firm foundation. You could not do it for race. It had to be kind of political. About 4 years ago, they made it, as long as it's political. So they cast everybody of color as Democrat, and then they're doing it by Democrats, not by people of color. Then this year, it just went off the rails. It's all the gloves are off. You can do whatever you want. Supreme Court just abdicated their responsibility. Racism's dead, and which is absolute nonsense. And the partisan gerrymandering is going to go off the rails. Prior to about 5 or 6 years ago, the worst state was Maryland. It was for Democrats. They had a thing called the Dragon. I don't know if you're familiar with that. Yeah. That was the most egregious one. But now they're just going to run up the score in any way they can.
Yeah, this is one of the things about any of these conversations in today's landscape is I think one of my biggest pet peeves is the yeah but. the whataboutism, nature
worthless.
of, well, look at Chicago, look
Worthless.
and I'm like, okay. And the one I love that I always go to that the MAGA folk that quote love my page, when they come at me about gerrymandering, they're like, well, look at Vermont, look at New Hampshire. And and this is where I'm like, okay, I'm not defending gerrymandering, but I will defend results, right? And I want to do a quick compare contrast to Missouri, because this literally came up a couple weeks ago in a friendly debate online. Was they were talking about specifically Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, maybe Rhode Island. I don't remember. Anyway, they're like, look at these, because 100% of the representation is Democrat, and they're like, are you telling me there's no Republicans here? And my argument was, okay, if we're comparing and contrasting Missouri to those three northeastern states, let's just look at results, right? Let's look at quality of life. Let's look at educational attainment. Let's median income, home ownership, the percentage of homelessness, all this, every fucking category.
Oh, yeah.
The blue team won.
Oh, yeah, across the board.
Right. So it's like, okay, we can both be in agreement that gerrymandering is bad, but we cannot be in disagreement in so much that you're going to tell me that the other system is better.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, tracks.
So my question to you is, Jeffco, when you look at healthcare, you look at life expectancy, you look at educational attainment, you look at all these things, and I have to assume the numbers track along the lines of, even St. Charles County, et cetera, Franklin. We're seeing the same thing, and this is under a Republican supermajority. When you look at your district and you look at the results, how would you grade those that have been in position, at this point over the last 20, 25 years?
It's been 23 years of direct Republican control. Like you said, it's a supermajority now. So this is a good time to have grades. Let's do it category by category. Public education, I think, is probably the worst it's been. Before, I thought it was bad when I was in high school. I'm going to watch my kids grow up in this. It's worse. They don't get the funding. The teachers, we're 49th in the country in teacher pay and in funding, and they're trying to cut it more now. All the direct funding with Amendment 4, Amendment 5, all the things they're trying to do. Sorry, Amendment 5 is the income tax.
5 is income tax.
Yeah, that's a direct attack on the public education. On top of the fact we just did the property tax freeze, which is going to hurt them just as much. So I'm going to give them an F on public education.
And capital gains tax.
Oh yeah, that was basically any bucket that went to public education. They're trying to destroy in order to do the school choice. We can discuss. That's a separate discussion. But so let's just focus on Highway 55 infrastructure. That has been under construction my entire life, I believe.
Yeah.
This newest batch has been at least half a decade, and it's not going to be done proposed till the middle of next year. I don't think that's going to happen. That's terrible.
Yeah, what's funny is like the interstate argument is like one of those things I really absolutely just laugh at, because growing up in Granite City, obviously, even though I could see the arch from my backyard, I was an Illinoisan.
You probably didn't feel like...
I was a St. Louis kid, right? Even growing up in Granite City. Fair. Now, once you're on the other side of the river, you are drinking Miller Lite, not Bud Light. That is just one of those things. Yeah. But we would always hear like, oh, Chicago's ruining our state, and the Democrats and blah 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 blah. And when it comes to interstates, I will give Illinois an F on I-55 from East St. Louis right across the river all the way to Chicago. It's been under construction in perpetuity. However, when you look at the highways just on the other side of Poplar Street Bridge, Illinois pulled it off.
Yeah, it looks good.
It's all paved. It's all...
I remember those being rough, and they look good.
Yeah, and during that same time frame, right, to your point, look at 55 South, look at, 44 for the most part has remained unscathed.
That's actually been a good streak, surprisingly.
And living right off it, I'm like, I chose wisely.
I wish they do something about that North Laclede Station exit. That is a nightmare now.
Yeah, no, that's volume density.
100%. Clayton, that's Clayton.
Yeah, but then when I look at 70, what's going on 70, heading out towards Kansas City, that's going to be, over under 25 years, before they get this done.
That's probably fair.
So I'm meandering here, but I wanted to get your, I'm going to go back to that report card. because obviously there was an impetus, there was a reason for you to run, and we can get to that in just a second. But just when you look at Jeffco and you look at the leadership, be it the county level, be it at the the state representative, whether it's in the Senate or the House districts, and then obviously that's got to be, is that 8 MO-8?
Yeah, MO-8. That currently Chris Reichert and Frank Burnitz for the Democrats are running. It's Jason Smith.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, I know Jason.
Not a fan of Jason Smith.
It amazes me. Let's go sideways for a second here. Jason Smith, how do you think it's possible that literally that Missouri 8 is in the bottom 10 of counties or districts in the fucking country?
It's impressive,
when it comes to output, whether it's wages, poverty's off the charts, homelessness, it's a loser. And so our federal government under this Republican administration decides that the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee that is in charge of an incredible amount of budgetary items for our nation, let's give it to the guy that runs the worst district in Missouri.
Doesn't that feel right under this administration, though?
Yeah,
like the timing is perfect for that.
As a Jeffco guy that's in that district, and you're competing against a 23-year reign of supermajority control, like why? What is the message there?
So this is actually a good point. I don't talk about Jason Smith. I talk about his policies and what he's done. I leave his name out of my mouth. I don't want to promote him, but I want to make sure people know he is taking money away from the state. He votes against everything that could possibly help the farmers, everything that can help people afford childcare, afford schooling, afford healthcare. He's not for the people. And the fact that he has convinced people to vote for him, one person that's not his mom, I'm shocked because I don't get it. You're voting against your own interests, which is not uncommon in Missouri. We have it's a plague of people who do not understand or not informed enough to know, I'm pro-labor, but I'm voting Republican. Why would you do that? They hate you. They push right to work. Oh, I'm a farmer and I'm voting Republican. They hate you too. Like I don't.
Do you think it just simply comes down to taxes?
Some people are one-issue voters. I like to think there's not enough of those to make a big difference, but it sure seems like that. So I think it's taxes, and there's a more nothing wrong with religion. I'm pro, freedom of religion, but you are being pushed in a certain direction if you're a hardcore Christian, and I think you'll feel guilty not voting that way, and I think that's part of it, even though it's against your interests.
So let's talk about Jeffco specifically. When you talk about freedom of religion, when you do talk about taxes, because what most people do is when they think of government and they think of politicians, and then they're asked to kind of connect their own situation. Look, most people are not thinking about their ideological beliefs. What they're really feeling immediately is their wallet.
Yep.
Can I afford to live the life I live, and or am I able to get new things or do new things that I wasn't able to the day before, which is just a byproduct of my own fiscal, situation.
Yeah.
Jeffco, again, as we mentioned earlier, that's an extremely wide demographic of haves and have-nots.
Absolutely.
How do you talk to? What's your message? Let's start with the haves. What's your message to them?
Well, the haves are you're here. You can thrive. You're not just surviving. You're thriving. So it's a social, cultural thing at that point. It's not unfair for us to ask you to pay a fair portion of it based upon you're okay. You're not hurting when there's so many people that are not doing well. Like explaining to someone who the have-nots is actually kind of trickier, because how do I explain to someone who is making minimum wage and then paying $500 a week in childcare because they have to, because that's the rate?
56% of your have-nots voted for the party that seemingly is telling them that they are their own problem.
And they're being lied to about we can fix it too. Affordability was the biggest issue last presidential, and that was all lies. The economy is and inflation are terrible, but it's a lot of the corporate greed. If you actually look at the numbers, inflation's terrible, but then the profits are sky high. That doesn't equate. During a real, actual financial crisis, the profits stay the same. The costs go up.
Yeah.
But record profits, that's not reining in corporate greed. That's not something Republicans will ever do. So the short term, if you just lie to somebody and go, I'm going to fix this. Oh, didn't do it this time, but the Democrats are stopping us. We'll do it this next time. That's what's been going on. I think people are finally wising up a little bit to realize, yeah, they don't care. They're not going to try to help us. They're making us worse.
So let's talk about the word Democrat. Let's keep this simple and fun. Yeah. When you go into your district and you go around and you show up at the VFW, or you go to the local strip, or you go wherever you go to the Labor Hall, or you're sitting at the local diner, you're in a district in which you can safely assume minimum 50-50, at least plus one, are Republicans.
Oh, if not more. Yeah. Like where I'm going to where the conversations need to happen. So yeah.
So when you walk into that world and you go over there and you shake a hand, or somebody says, "Hey, that guy's running for office," and then they say, "Oh, what party are you? Are you a Republican?" When you say, what's your reply? I'm a Democrat, or
when I see that switch in their eyes, because that's the exact way it goes, and I go, yeah, I'm Jeff Abney, running for Senate District 22. I'm the Democrat candidate, and then a little light goes off in their eye, and I go, listen, like Monday, this is great. The labor union, I am a huge supporter of labor. My grandfather was a laborer. He worked at Chrysler his whole life. I was like, you don't have to support me. You don't know me. I support you either way. Like, this is my policies will always be in your benefit. I will never take away your right to unionize. I will support that. And if I get elected, tell me what you need. Like, we can try to make things work. That's labor. Individual ones, I try to talk policy before I talk my party, and I get people engaged and like, yeah, until they go, oh, you're a Democrat, but they've already got a whole conversation behind them at that point.
Yeah, so I'm assuming, just given the way that the news, quote news, and social media, and obviously the national narrative trickles into every corner of society. Yeah. When you go into that diner, you're in the coffee shop, right? Mm-hmm. And you know that's a table full of maybe boomers, old Xers that are anti-woke, and but you know these people. Yeah. Maybe you know that somebody's having trouble with their mortgage, or somebody's got an issue, their car's in the shop, or maybe you're sitting, because if you listen, because I was literally just in a diner yesterday, and granted, listening to those that defend this administration tooth and nail in one breath, and then the next they are immediately complaining about every single thing that they are purchasing.
Yep.
When you do talk to them, how do you reply or react to kind of those the woke social issues?
Yeah, so that's more of a zealousy thing. Like, they have a wall built up. It's preconceived notions, and I ask questions. I go, why do you feel that way? Or what do you think this administration is doing to fix that? They pause because it's just there. They don't have a logical reason behind it, but they've either been indoctrinated or they just tertiarily paid attention to it, and that's part of their belief now. Having educational conversations I don't belittle them, because I don't think a lot of people know how the sandwich gets made, so to speak. And
well, is it? I'll push back a little bit, not because I don't think you should do it that way, but because I don't have the patience you do. Because when they start to push back, and they are like, the belittling side of it is numbers don't lie. So if I show you statistically, empirically, from your own people, that this shit is not working, be it tariffs, be it even the big beautiful bill, we can look at the deficit, we can look at, take your pick. Yeah,
but you can't do it from that standpoint. You have to get them to a place of acceptance, because this is trial and error.
Well, that's why I'm not running for office, though.
Yeah, I used to get in arguments online all the time, and I realized, you know what, this came off, we were aggressive. He's not even, I could give him $5 million and he wouldn't care what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. And I got to the point where I would stop the conversation by saying, hey, is there anything I can say to change your mind? Or who would you need to hear from in order for you to change your mind? And they'd be like, no, nobody, nothing. Oh, then we're not having a conversation. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about music? I like Tool. Let's talk about, and they would be disarmed and be like, what? Then you can't talk to some people if they're in the wrong mind state. There's no point.
Yeah, no, I agree. So therefore my question is, in your district, knowing that you probably have far greater have-nots than haves, what is the message? What's the simplistic message out of the gate? Forget about blue or red. Yeah. If there's like 2 or 3 things that you're like, hey, here's the deal. If I get elected for you specifically, I'm going to do A, B, and C.
No, well, my biggest one is I am not a politician. I am not taking corporate funds from a single entity. It's all individuals. So if I get elected, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure my tax money, your tax money, goes back into the state, goes back into the county, helps fund police officers, the firefighters, the retirement funds libraries, funds all these things that we take for granted growing up that are going away. Public education, healthcare, childcare. That's where our tax money should be spent. After that, then we can talk about tax breaks for people that may need it. I'm not a big fan of spending money on stadiums, but if we paid everything else off, sure, we can talk about it. Those priorities are out of whack. That's my biggest and most successful conversation piece, honestly, because nobody wants their tax money going anywhere but back to them.
So let's talk a little bit about Missouri specifically, because we I mean, we really know how to ring up some news headlines here. Baked into our state constitution is the ballot initiative process.
Yeah, Amendment 4.
Long story short, for you listeners, most of you know this, Missouri is unique in so much that we have the ability, if you can get enough signatures, which is roughly 300,000, simple math, and I'm sure I'm off a little bit, but if you can get the signatures, you can get new policy, a new law, or a new, I'll just call it a thing on the ballot, typically in November. And then the people of Missouri can hear said thing and say, yes, I want it. No, I don't. Really kind of that simple. And in my mind, in my world, like I view the simplicity of that process that is built into our state constitution, I think is brilliant.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've long claimed to be an independent. Over the past 10 years, for reasons obvious, I lean left. I've always leaned left, but I'm supporting Democrats, not because I think they're doing a great job, but because they are not the evil empire at this point. Yeah. But in Missouri, the ability to say, hey, we want minimum wage to go to $18 an hour. In fact, let's let the people of Missouri vote on it, yes or no. Simple majority, there it goes. Over the past 10 years, weed, Medicaid expansion, sports gambling, even some gas tax freezes, you name it. The people of Missouri, by and large, come out and, based on policy, vote for more liberal stuff. And the supermajority Republicans, which funny because they're on the exact same ballots, who are opposed to those things, they still get voted in. Yeah. So now here we are with Amendment 4, in which the supermajorities drafted up this legislation. They want to remove that right. They want to change it so that there are 8 districts, federal districts in the state of Missouri. In order for any of these to pass, not only do you need the majority, but you need the majority in all 8.
Oh, it's worse than that. It's every county. It's not just the 8 districts.
If you look at the 8 districts,
that's what they're. Unfortunately, I read laws for living statutes. It's so if St. Louis County or Calhoun County doesn't want it passed, and everything, all 90.
Okay, so let's use that example. So help me out. Missouri 2 is a combination of Franklin, St. Louis County, St. Charles County. That's Ann Wagner's district.
Yes.
And a handful of others.
Yes, it is.
What you're saying is not only would each of the districts need to be a majority, but within District 2, you could have St. Charles County be at 49%, but every other county in the state could be 51 above, and it would fail.
Yeah, it's the most insulting thing I've ever heard legislature do to its voters. It's taking away our voice, and their whole point is outside campaign funds. That's not a thing. They are the ones getting the funding to kill this. They don't like that we have a voice, and they get bad press whenever we vote something in and then they don't enact it or fund it. And we're gonna fight this one tooth and nail. But you're correct. If St. Louis County wants to say, let's say March 15th is going to be Pinocchio Day, whatever random holiday, and then the entire state votes for it, overwhelmingly 90%, except for St. Charles County, who says no by 49, it doesn't pass. That is not majority rules. So
the argument that they'll make is, well, we're Democratic Republic.
Yeah. What does that mean, though? What do they think that means?
I know that, but that's their talking point where they're like, no, we elect people to do the work for us.
Well, yeah, most states work that way. Most of our country works that way, but we have a fun thing in our Constitution, and we're not the only state that allows us to do this, and it's been wonderful, and I don't see this passing.
So can you take a second and talk about kind of the irony, though, with Amendment 4 in particular, because here we are in a state in which there is a clear-cut supermajority, Republicans. We really haven't seen a decrease in spending. There's a difference between funding and spending.
Yes.
Our spending is continuing to go up. These guys, in true Reaganomics way, want to cut and cut and cut taxes, which is your income. So they're spending more. They're taking in less. And now the party of small government through Amendment 4 actually wants to become the party of big government.
The irony is you can choke on it. It's ridiculous.
Is this conversation coming up at those tables as you're out and about?
Yeah, so with Amendment 4, one of the things once the ballot came out, what they're going to be on, we've been pushing 4 and 5 nonstop. And I don't tell people, vote this way. I tell them what is going to happen. And then I tell them how I'm going to vote and let them decide. But 4 is... people didn't even know it existed, a lot of them, and they don't know how things get on ballots and how the legislature. I had to explain bicameral legislation to some people. I'm like, these are good conversations. The more we can educate, the more you realize they're trying to screw you over, and you deserve to have a voice, and they don't want you to have that voice. So they're happening more. I'm hoping that they're going to have even more conversations in the next 2 months, because it's going to be sad if this does not if it does pass and the Republicans get their way, because they don't have a check at that point. We are their check.
Well, here's the other thing: the reverse irony is that now, if they do want to put a ballot initiative out there and say it's some super crazy, we want to legalize AKs for all high school students, right? Well, whatever it is, and that's a stupid example, but you follow where I'm going with this. Now, when they go to put anything on the ballot process that they would want, lonely little St. Louis City, can say 51% of the evil blue team says no, and 99% of the rest of the state is a yes. It's a no. It works in reverse.
So let me understand. If they put something on the ballot themselves,
they
don't have the same standard. So if the legislature puts something on the ballot, it's still majority. It's not the same. So this is only for initiatives made by the community,
by the people.
So yeah, they kill our voice, and their voice stays strong.
Okay, so that makes it even worse.
It does.
Is that resonating?
When we explain it to people, yeah, and I found that people didn't know the process existed. 2, when they found out, they're happy, and 3, they get pissed when they found out it's getting taken away or trying to be taken away.
Okay, so let's stay in Missouri, because this would be the world that you're going to be living in if you were to win this seat. Let's talk about Amendment 5, which I think is, as much as Amendment 4 is just insulting and just everything that's wrong with the D versus R argument, Amendment 5 is dangerous.
Oh yeah.
The Missouri Republicans are wanting to be Texas. They are wanting to be Florida, and they're wanting to eliminate the state income tax because they every now and then turn on CNBC in the morning and they hear about these tax-free havens, and they look at this growth, and then they ignore all of the shortcomings within the grid. They don't talk about the property taxes in those states. They don't talk. They don't talk about the sales taxes. They don't talk about the toll roads everywhere.
I lived in Florida and Texas, so I uniquely can tell you my experience with the toll roads in Florida and the power grid in Texas and the property taxes. I live in El Paso, thankfully. They have a separate power grid. When all that happened, we were fine. The rest of the state was not.
So Missouri, I'm just going to kind of simply summarize it, and then I want you to take on kind of your elevator pitch on this Amendment 5. As I see it, Missouri's budget is roughly 12 to 15 billion, something like that. I'm off $1 billion or $2 billion, but the number that matters is 65% of our budget is derived from state income taxes. Okay, this is simple kitchen table math. If they eliminate the income tax And within this legislation, there's language that basically allows them at any point, independently, without the will of the people, they can adjust sales taxes, and they can now implement service taxes on a number of different things that historically have been non-taxable in the state of Missouri.
Well, it's against the Hancock Amendment stops that. We voted that in
Correct.
years ago.
But what this would do is basically overturn that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's a train approaching a cliff at about 80 miles per hour, and we are a quarter mile to the end of the line. The math ain't mathin'. So what, again, similar to 4, when you go out there and 5 comes up, and these are people that view the government as nefarious, and they are broke, and they are hurting, and when they hear no more income tax, they think it's a win. How are you communicating this out in the public?
And this was my fear originally, like, because it sounds good. But then if you break down the numbers, because I'm a numbers guy too, you say you make pay $5,000 a year in income tax. That's really one of the lowest in the country. We have one of the lowest tax rates for state income tax rate in the country. And while it will help you short term, everything else you just mentioned will be taxed to any limit they feel like. More importantly, we can't miss out on certain things in life. We all need funeral services, and now that's going to be taxed. We all need doctors.
Healthcare.
That's going to be taxed. We all need therapy. That's going to be taxed. Lawyers. I don't want this.
You want to buy a home?
Yeah, real estate. I know they're really they're putting as much fight behind this as possible to not let this happen. It's the amount of taxes you're going to pay. Just the average day for events like that will be, I can't even calculate. It's going to be double, triple. But then your everyday things, say whatever the cap is on your grocery bill is, the taxes, they can double that. They can even a little increment is going to make you hurt. It's not going to be good for anybody.
Yeah, because Jeffco, you're going to have a very large population that's much closer to the median line than other districts. So you're talking about households, based upon that number, somewhere in the 62 to 75K range for 2 people in a house, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That's going to be the median. And that basket of goods, that the groceries every week, if they have 2 kids, those kids are falling. They're breaking arms. They're getting sick. You're going to your doctor. You're utilizing your high deductible plans. All of these things are not going to change, and they're already the total expense for a family of 4 is far exceeding the 62K.
Yeah,
right. They're already in negative land. So if all of these, sales and service taxes are going to go, what are you envisioning is the outcome here? Like
poverty. Like you're going to be literally not able to afford to exist. My biggest issue I tell people about services, childcare. You pay $500 a month for childcare. Oh well, that's probably generous, but say $500 a month. If you add a 10% tax on that, it's more like $500 a week. You're going to pay an extra $50 every time. It's going to accumulate and accumulate. Mm-hmm. Then you're going to go to your grocery store and pay another $50. So your $6,000 or $5,000 you're going to pay annually is now triple that just on things you do every day. And then one of these bad life events happen. Someone dies, you have to pay for the funeral. Now you're crippled. You don't have savings. You can't afford savings.
How do you talk to potential constituents in your area in which that they are underwater? That they are struggling.
Oh yeah, we're retirees. I shoot pool. I love shooting pool, and I have a couple of older gentlemen on my team. One, he literally is retired and he lives on a fixed income, which a lot of people do. And I can't imagine if this law passes, what's going to happen to him, because he doesn't have an income, so he does not worried about it.
Do you know his politics?
Me and him have talked. I'm not gonna. He will know who I'm talking. I'm not gonna put his information out there, but I think he understands now that everything in his life is going to get more expensive because of that fixed income. He has no more earning capacity. This is what it is. So if that shrinks down to nothing, what is he going to be able to do?
Okay, I don't want to make an assumption, but can I assume maybe this individual being in the district of elder age probably leans right, and is he possibly looking at this financial reality, and is it moving his mindset at all?
Oh, if I were to classify him, I'd say he's a classic centrist. Honestly, I think he goes both ways depending on what he feels at the time. I'm hoping he told me he would vote for me if he could. It doesn't mean everyone can tell me that, but
Yeah.
he knows me, and some of the best compliments I've got from lifelong friends are like, "Hey, I'm a Republican. I've never voted for a Democrat. I'm going to vote for you because I know you. I know you're going to do what you're going to say." I think he is understanding the amendment. I think he would definitely vote against.
How would you let's zoom out a little bit? How would you even classify kind of this current group of Republicans in the Missouri Senate and in the House? Because I think of names like Nick Schroer, right? These guys that love their socials, love to troll. Everything's Huckleberry and woke shit and all this stuff. And these are the guys that are, kind of not only taking kind of the social headlines, but they legitimately have like chairman roles in these committees that are just gobbling up kind of the DC talking points
and regurgitating, absolutely.
and applying it to our state, which is not. It's not the same as other areas.
Well, the irony is the Democrats in Missouri are not national level Democrats, like the same bread and butter. Like I'm for your gun rights. I'm a veteran. I'm never taking your guns away. I want you to be trained. Holy shit. Please learn how to shoot your gun. Don't let your kid have the gun and wave it around. Like that's common sense. Like most of the Democrats here are very common sense. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not going to decide what a woman should do with her body. I'm going to leave that up to the medical professionals who think, yeah, that's woman's health. So abortion should be perfectly legal with medical exemptions and up to whatever the life viability is. It's insane that anyone thinks who is not a medical professional, they know better. I don't think I should be able to tell you what to do with your body. It's crazy to me. The culture war is
the whole
crazy.
pro-life versus pro-birth argument.
Yeah, and it's been wrapped up with the culture war, too, the trans arguments in there. One of my favorite conversations, this gentleman was like, well, are you for trans men in the bathroom? I'm like, well, you mean trans women, but what do you mean? Like, they can go to the bathroom. Well, what if they look into the stall? I'm like, there's laws on the books for that. Yeah. If you go into a woman's bathroom and look under the stall, what's the difference between a trans person doing the same thing? And they paused and like, oh, you'll get arrested, you'll get charged, you'll go to trial, you go to jail. There's no new laws. This is not an issue. You're looking for an issue.
It's like the foreign money in the Amendment 4, right? Yeah. There's already laws in place, signed by Kehoe, no less.
Yeah, they just had an argument on the floor about that, and they were like,
well, here's my thing. They are counting on an uneducated base.
Yes. By
the language that they use, and
Mm-hmm.
even the nefarious nature of how they roll these things out. For example, when they talk about no foreign money in these campaigns, most people that are MAGA in particular, and a lot of others, when they hear foreign money, they're thinking, are these rubles? Are these Chinese yen? And
that's the implication.
Yeah, and what it basically is saying, anything that's on the other side of the Mississippi, right?
Yeah.
That's foreign.
They're legislating by fear and implication.
Right. And then the other one that I thought was extremely, look, the Republican consultants and strategists, I'll give them credit. They come up with really good ideas to get the things they want. And that is the Amendment 3.
Oh, yeah. The child mutilation aspect of it.
I think it's even more nefarious than that and simplistic in so much that when we did pass abortion access, pro-choice access in Missouri a couple of years ago, it was yes on 3.
Oh, and now it's going to be no on 3. Yeah.
So now they chose the same amendment number. They're using a vast majority of the same language, just manipulated to where it's in the alternative.
You can't underestimate their nefariousness.
Yeah, and so now everybody that was in favor of women's rights and people and liberty and freedom, now you have to vote no on 3.
Right.
When you see these things, how do you not just get irritated to the point of even maybe mad? Because I get mad.
This is why I'm running. I'm running because I'm pissed off. And I'm also pissed at the Democrats, and I'm sure I'm going to get flack for this. The national level Democrats in 2020, when the 2025 started getting created, we knew about it. We didn't. They knew it was there. They didn't get a think tank together and after reading and going, well, we need to offset every one of these. What can we do to prevent this? Or if it happens, they didn't do that. They were like, it'll never happen. Where are we at now? That is a failure to plan. And the resources and the nefariousness of one party cannot be underestimated. And that's what's happening here in Missouri. And it's just going to keep happening. Education and planning is how you stop that. That is the only way to fix that.
So let's talk specifically about, in my opinion, the only thing that ultimately matters in the long run, and I'm going to take education out of the equation because I think that's its own empire
It really
of importance. Jobs. So if you were to win and you look at your District 22, at the end of the day, college grads, the young kids moving up, et cetera, because you have kids that have gone through this. I have a kid that's about to graduate from college next year. I have 2 more entering into it over the next 5 years. One of the things that goes through my mind all the time is like, okay, even if they wanted to stay in district, because they, the cultural reality, just the options, the vibe, et cetera. My kids like to travel, and I don't think they want to stay here for a multitude of reasons. But when it comes to jobs, like if they legitimately exited college and were like, I want to go back home, I'm going to go there because there's X job. The reality is that's not playing at scale.
Yep.
How would you go into office and talk to that suburban mom or that rural mom that has a kid that's in high school that's going to go to college maybe, or maybe to a trade school? What are you going to say to them when it comes to, I'm going to help create jobs? How would you do that? What would you envision that looking like?
No, absolutely. So one of the fun things I'd like to do is I'd like to see what's worked elsewhere and steal it. We have 50 states. It works in a lot of them. What programs failed and what programs have worked, like the opposite. We'll do whatever the opposite of Kansas was, essentially.
Oh my God, yeah.
But
Brownback
ruined. But regardless, I digress. You find out what's worked to drive jobs in specific counties, and you do that. You implement it. You encourage trade schools and you encourage labor unions, because the more labor work you can get, the better. Like you find out what works, and believe me, I don't have the answers for that. Like I said, I'm not a politician, and believe me, I know jobs are not going to fall out of the sky, but we can find out what will drive companies to have more growth here.
Mm-hmm. So, education, healthcare, jobs, and housing. Let's say those are the 4 pillars.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about, maybe just kind of your focus on healthcare. What do you envision as low-hanging fruit or something that you could tackle?
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah, healthcare is easy. Low-hanging fruit on that is just access. Don't shut down the hospitals. Rural America, like Jeffco is not rural like the traditional Boot Hill port of it, but they're about to close down hospitals all across the state because they're lacking funding. The money we get from the federal government is not being sent to them. Reallocation of our tax resources to the places that need them. We have the money. We have the gambling taxes. We have the sports gambling taxes. We have tobacco. We have all these funds that were supposed to be used, and then we're replacing line items with it. So the $80,000 that was going to go to the school from our budget now goes from the gambling. It just replaces it instead of augmenting it and improving it. We fix where the money goes. That's how you do that. It's insane that healthcare costs so much because all these facilities are falling apart. They have to pay. They have to have like donations even to get through the year half the time. That's insane to me.
Or a 4-day school week.
Because they can't fund it properly. When there's constitutional, Missouri State Constitution requires a certain amount of funding, and they're not living up to that. It's unnecessary. The fact that we're not in the top 25 of funding and teacher pay is a choice.
What about housing?
So housing's that's a federal issue, and Missouri's not helping it either. So resources for housing is not just something that's going to be fixed overnight. There's these giant investment firms and that are basically gobbling up. And North St. Louis was so bad about this. In 2008, when the market collapsed, these hedge funds were like, we're going to gobble up all these little houses and investments. Yeah, and it was smart. It's working. But because of that, they can control the market. So whatever they want, if you remember about 3 or 4 years ago, everything went crazy expensive and the rent went crazy. They did that. That is private companies owning these blocks of property and driving it. That should be illegal. And honestly, I think there's plenty of laws federally on the books that are just not being enforced. HUD has so many resources that they're not doing because they're not getting any kind of push for it. Mm-hmm. That was just, it's sad. And they don't care.
So more simplistically, when you're out there and you're knocking on doors, or you're sitting in the diner, et cetera, what are you hearing? Like when somebody finds out or meets you, new person, strange face, what are you doing here? And you say, I'm Jeff Abney. I'm running for state senate. Mm-hmm. people like to talk. What are they saying?
Well, a lot of them, they don't talk policy in the micro sense, like the individual ones. They do macro stuff. It's a lot of culture wars stuff. In Jeffco, it's been weird, random conversations, weird conversations, and they still do the traditional.
That tracks. It's Jeffco.
Yeah, well, they still do the traditional. Well, where'd you grow up? Because they want to suss me out.
Yeah,
like,
they're vetting you.
Like I'm from here. Like I work in Hillsborough. Like I'm in the community, but it's interesting. I know a lot of people in Jeffco. Like I grew up there. My family grows up. It was all from there. So a lot of people they know my last name from other. There's some good Abneys. There's not some good Abneys.
Oh, we all have those.
Yeah, it is what it is. My uncle, well, he's like a second cousin. I always grew up. He was so much older. He owned a tow company in Hillsborough, and he was a saint. He would just drop everything in the middle of the night to help people out. I get that question more than anything. Are you related to Bill? I'm like, I am. I'm not. I don't talk to him. It's not because of choice. We were kind of not close, but he's awesome, and he's helped my name just by being a decent human. And I hope to do the same thing.
Do you have any like funny anecdotals where somebody meets you and they're diehard red blood, and they find out you're a Democrat?
Yeah.
Let's give a little.
It's not
this one time.
It's not even. It's the same. It's happens multiple times where I'm talking policy and they're on board. Like, yeah, absolutely. And then you say, "Oh, I'm Democrat," and then they freeze. You get that momentary like reboot, and they're like, "Oh, well," and then it's sad. It's nothing anecdotal. There's nothing crazy's happened. They just shift gears entirely, and I'm like, "Oh, I've lost you on this." It's unfortunate.
So. As you approach, are you running?
Uncontested. I don't have a primary opponent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think so. I looked. So you look forward to November. Over under. Give yourself a shot.
Well,
this is a Kalshi world we live in.
The last election for this was 39% Democrat. So I'm going to get. I'm thinking we have voter apathy on the other side. We have a non-incumbent. We have national disgrace of the party. I think if 75
war, gas.
Yeah, if 75% of the Republicans that normally vote do not come out, I think it's 50-50. It's going to be close. If 50%, I think I win, and like by a lot. I'm riling up the Democrats. The Democrats in Jeffco, like we are a unified front for the first time in probably 10 years. We're all campaigning together. My event that's coming up, I have them all have little speaking slots for all the districts in Jeffco. We're renting a booth at the fair to make sure we're all on the same page. That kind of support I haven't seen, and I think that's going to help. And if I know you're not in my district, but you're in Dan Schaefer's district. Well, hey, Dan's awesome. He's a good guy. If you like me, you love him. Vote for him. We're cross promoting as much as possible. We're trying to kill the socials as well. That's not my area of expertise particularly, but it's that I think we're going to do the best in probably 20 years.
So you have kids. You have older kids that are kind of all on their own paths.
Yep.
You talked about your mom, single mom that raised you and your siblings. You just recently got married.
Yeah.
Let's say you win this thing. Imagine it's the Friday Night Lights winning touchdown. You're the quarterback. No time left. You win the game. You got to run over to the bleachers. Who you hugging and kissing first?
It's the wife. I mean,
it's a brand new marriage, so probably a safe answer.
Not only is she's phenomenal. I randomly met her on a deposition flying to Boston. I was there for 24 hours. She was a travel nurse up in Boston. She's from Arkansas. Just random. Like she's my person. She's fantastic. We are 100% a team. My kids are going to get hugs and kisses afterwards, but the wife gets the first.
Yeah, you got to put them in line though, and that's the down.
Ideally, it's a group hug, but
yeah, there you go. So where can people find you? What's the best place to kind of keep up, catch up, and maybe even support the campaign? So
we have a Facebook page, Jeff Abney for State Senate. Go to jeffabney.com. Find us there. There is a sad little TikTok that I posted a couple things on. That's not my skill set.
We'll talk about that after. But you need to be out there.
I know. Yeah, but reaching younger people, like I I've reached out to a bunch of colleges to see if I can just go speak to classes like the poli-sci and I've got crickets. It's shocking because I'm like, I'll show up and talk issues. Doesn't have to be partisan. I just or the process. But yeah, reaching out to people is interesting. But yeah, that's how you find me. And if you want to stop by the Hideout in High Ridge on June 27th, it's a historically Republican establishment, but they're letting us have noon to 5 on the 27th, where I'm putting on a concert fundraiser. I'm performing. I haven't played in a band in 20 years. So it's going to be kind of interesting.
Now we're talking. What's the band?
Well, it's just me and my stepdad who's going to be doing it. We used to be, it's called IWOC Death Squad.
I've heard it. I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's a long time ago. The Holy Hand Grenades are going to be there. I don't know if you're familiar with them. Greg, the what's it called? Heavy Riff Brewery.
Yeah.
His band's going to play for an hour. We're going to have a couple older...
Heavy Riff over on the hill.
Yeah, the Hill, Dogtown area.
Yeah, Dogtown, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I know it's very...
Man, I totally fumbled that one. It's on TAM.
It is, exactly. Wonderful place. Please go there, support him. But yeah, we're going to be having a bunch of classic rock bands, some acoustic acts, and we want you to bring canned goods too. Like the concert's free. It's free. Donate if you want. I take everything you can, but we're also trying to do some good with the local food banks. Because if I don't win, at least I'll have 6 months of getting the community a little better off.
Yeah. Well, good luck with the race, man.
I appreciate it very much.
I appreciate you coming in here. Stay in touch. Keep me posted.
Absolutely.
As things transpire, maybe closer to the election, maybe we bring you back and get an update, see where we're at, see how many of those anecdotal stories become transitional stories.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And that's it for today, people. Tell me you're joking. Jeff Abney running for State Senate. D22 is a D in Jeffco. A lot of things going on in that statement right there. But thanks for joining me, Jeff.
Thank you.
And good luck with the campaign.
I appreciate it, man.